Hey folks, I think I'm going to start a new video series called Goat Math. And it's going to be just kind of little exercises in kind of napkin, back and napkin type math for planning or penciling out different scenarios and different things when it comes to a for-profit meat goat operation. And most of this stuff is applicable even if you're not, even if you're just doing it as a hobby or if you're raising other types of livestock. Numbers might be a little different, but the same principles generally apply. Question I get not infrequently is how much hay do I need? And usually they're asking how many bales of hay do I need? And I'll start like right there. I'm just going to start to say you should not be thinking about bales. You should be thinking about pounds of hay. These big alfalfa bales behind me, if you just buy these and you're just paying by the bale, they could be anywhere from 800 pounds up to almost a ton, up to almost 2,000 pounds. Median I typically figure is 1,500. But they can vary quite a bit. And that really adds up when you're buying semi-loads of hay. So you really need to know the weight of the hay that you're buying, whether it's large rounds or small squares. And with small squares, I will mention that I think a lot of people tend to overestimate the weight of small squares. They'll say, oh yeah, this is a 60-pound bale, and you go and weigh it, and it's like 45. I don't think square bales are as heavy as they used to be. And I think it's one because buyers aren't buying by the weight anymore because they aren't being as frugal. Particularly, people that buy square bales aren't focused mostly on the cost efficiency of it. If they were, they would be buying round bales. The other side of it is I think buyers actually a lot of buyers do prefer lighter bales because they're easier to handle, and that's fine. But let's go back to the actual question. How much hay do I need? Now, we are going to assume, with this basic math, we're going to assume that you're just putting them on full hay for a period of time. And I'm going to use really even round numbers. You need to plug your own numbers into this formula. But let's say you have 10 goats that are an average of 100 pounds each. That's 1,000 pounds of goats, 1,000 pounds of animal, also called an animal unit. That'll be coming up a lot in this series, that unit of measurement. 1,000 pounds of animal. What the formula I use is 4% per day. So 4% of 1,000 pounds is 40 pounds. Now, why 4% and not 3%? Anybody, if you're watching this, you probably think, well, everybody uses 3%. 3% is dry matter. This hay is not 100% dry matter. No hay is. This probably still has like 9 to 12% moisture content, somewhere in that range. The other thing is that there is spoilage. There is waste. You do want to have some slack capacity in case of misestimation. You also want to figure on those animals growing. Maybe they're 100 pounds now. Maybe they're going to be 120 pounds by the end of this. So these are just ways to kind of add padding and add slack capacity to this formula. And I just go ahead and round up to 4% to do that, and to also account for that dry matter conversion. Because unless you're going to get the hay tested, you don't actually know what the dry matter percentage is. So 40 pounds per day. Again, I'm going to use a very nice even number. I'm going to say we're going to be putting them on full hay and only hay for 100 days. All right. That's 40 times 100 gets you to 4,000. So you need 4,000 pounds of hay. Talking small squares of alfalfa, that's going to be 80 plus bales. Large rounds like these, figure 1,500 kind of median weight. That's going to be, I'd go ahead and round up to 3 bales on that pretty easily. And that's a pretty small number of goats. So what was the next thing I was going to mention? Oh, so the other thing is that figures that you're going to be feeding hay completely. Let's say you also have them on some pelletized feed of some sort, some concentrated feed stuff, grain, something like that. It's fairly easy what you can do. Let's say you're doing a pound per head per day of some grain. You can subtract that. You can subtract that weight out of that 4% or out of that 40 pounds. So pound per head per day would be 10 pounds for those 10 goats. We can subtract out 10 pounds. We end up at 30 pounds. We're down to 3,000 pounds of hay. Now, these are all just estimations. That's why I add extra padding to them on the 4%. Again, different moisture content levels. But that's just a quick example of how to estimate how much hay you're going to need for a given period, back of napkin math style. I am not talking about the quality of the hay. That's not what this video is about. I'm just talking about quantity. I'm not talking about doing different feedstuffs, mixtures, and stuff like that. We can make another video about that if people are interested. But I'm just talking about quantity of hay and really emphasizing you should be buying by the weight, and the basic formula is right there. If you want to know more on this, I do have a calculator on my website. You can scroll to the bottom of the website, it's right there, and you input some data and it'll give you these estimations, and you can even input your own bale information and stuff like that. So check that out if you want to know more. If this video proves to be popular, I'll do more in this goat math series. This is a really, really basic introduction one. We can start penciling out things like feeder operations and rates of gain and all kinds of fun stuff if you want to in the future.